Okay, I think we are live, Alan. So welcome. I waited for that time so we can discuss a little bit on IPP and share all the tips and tricks on how to have a successful conference. But before we dive in, Alan, please share a little bit about yourself for the people that don't know the famous memes of Alan.
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone, I'm Alan Wilemon. I've been doing privacy for a good while, for most of my career. Love to talk about it. Love to have conversations like this about privacy, about conferences. Right now, I'm working as a privacy auditor for KirkPatrickPrice, and real excited to talk with you, Gal, today. This is cool.
Love it. Two words about myself, Gal Ringel, co-founder and CEO at Mine. I'm come from a different background than privacy. Started with cybersecurity engineering, did that for 15 years, and privacy was always there as a topic that I wanted to leverage my cybersecurity experience and add more innovation and solutions to that. And in one sentence, MineOS is a no-code data privacy and governance platform. We basically automates all the manual and repetitive tasks that different teams across organizations has to do, from data inventory, data classification, DSR handling, privacy assessments, AI governance, and more. So thank you again, Ellen, and let's jump in. So as someone who is probably attended dozens of IPP conferences, how do you generally approach these events? So one big issue, and I can share about my first experience, but the big issue is that they have three main paths, I would say, or three main key elements. There are all the sessions, the networking, which you want to do in between or in parallel, and then the exhibit hall. So how do you prioritize between these three?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Those are the three big things, like at any conference probably that you go to, right? Networking, exhibit hall, vendors, and then the sessions as well. For me, personal, your mileage may vary. Networking is priority number one. There is, of those three, networking has the potential to impact your career more immensely, to open your career in other ways, for you to help someone else in a different way. So networking is priority number one. And then I might go, this will sound odd, it's a toss-up maybe between the exhibit hall and the sessions. And maybe it just depends on what the sessions are that year. I mean, there may be a session where you're like, oh, man, I'm struggling with, Washington's My Health, My Data Act, and like, how is my company going to deal with this? That's where we're located. And there's a session that talks exactly about your plight. Then yeah, that's really important. You want to go to that. You want to see what the conversation is there. Otherwise, I mean, it's helpful to go and see where's the current state of just the vendors. What solutions are out there? You're not going there to buy something today necessarily, but it's helpful to know, because a problem is going to come up next week or in 3 months or next year that you never anticipated. And it's helpful to remember, I think there are groups that are working to address this. And you do that by exposing yourself to those vendors, like who's solving for problems right now. So that's my approach. Networking, maybe exhibit hall, and then the sessions, really finding those sessions that have to do with what you're interested in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I remember my first IPP back in 2019, and I think it was obviously the first IPP. So I'm referring to IPP DC. That was my first time in 2019. It was the first one after GDPR, officially, introduced after May 2018. And I remember looking at the agenda, and it was so hard for me to decide, which sessions I want to see, because there are a lot of sessions in parallel, so you literally have to cut yourself and decide if you can listen to both. And I found it very hard to build exactly the agenda or the path that I want to go. And this is a good segue to my second question. How do you choose the right sessions in your point of view? What makes a session a good one? What makes you choose a session when you prepare before the conference and choose your path?
Yeah, I think what I mentioned before, and this is probably natural. Most people they're like, obviously I would do this. If there's something that you're really running up against, you know, at your organization or in your work, and the session's touching on that topic, how to overcome that problem, that's a slam dunk, right? You probably want to go to that one. Maybe there's a block where there's not. You're looking at 4 to 6 sessions in an hour block. You want to go to something, but I'm not really dealing with any of these things yet. So how do you pick? There's several things you can look for. One, you know, look for like kinds of companies maybe that are on the panel that are talking about. It's possible you may go to a session and maybe it's got really big names on it, people from big brands and multinationals or people that you've heard about. But you may go in there and you may find, wow, like they're talking about budgets that I definitely don't have, or they're talking about teams of 30 people and it's just me. So there may be a little bit of distance. It may be harder to find some of those sessions accessible. So look at, you know, where are the speakers coming from? Are there any like-sized companies? So maybe I might be hearing people that have my experience talk about X, Y, and Z, something to think about. And then also, you know, just is there anything fresh, anything that you didn't even know was being talked about right now? Maybe something you've never heard of. Go check it out. Go expose yourself to something new. If there's not something you're really targeting, like, wow, here's a new kind of threat modeling that I've never heard of before. Let me go look into it. Maybe there's something I could use. You know, just be ready to be curious about some topics and go to it and see what's up.
So in that sense, do you feel there is a big difference between IAPP GPS to PSR, which is going to be next week, in terms of the types of sessions, the content in general, the people that are coming to speak and to listen?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a difference, right? I think Global Privacy Summit, the name is very apt. Like you are going to get more global, internationally focused sessions there in DC in the spring. Just because of the size, you've got more people coming from all over the world and more people talking about other regions outside the US and some of the data protection laws, privacy laws that are coming or that they are working through, they are having success in implementing in their organization. PSR probably is a little bit more US focused. I won't bind that completely on it, but I think that's been the experience. And I think there's a desire for PSR. I don't know if it always has shaken out this way with the speakers, but to definitely offer opportunity for more technical discussions as well. Again, in the name, privacy, security, and risk. So I think there's opportunity to maybe hear some more technical talks that you might not have at GPS because there's so much global data protection law to get to that can just like fill the entire spectrum of agenda there.
I wonder if we can squeeze in the word AI to the GPS or PSR. We need to add that. We need to add another letter to the name.
That's right. That's right. You know, it's been interesting. You know, it feels and maybe I think this is great. There's a bit of we're coming back to just some privacy talks. AI is important, right? And it's worth talking about. And it exploded the last couple of years, and it just completely took over the conferences. I mean, there's an IAPP AI conference. We get that, but it totally took over every other thing as well. And it's in the agenda this year too. And I'm not complaining about that, but it is nice to see that privacy is actually reemerging. That there are sessions that do not have AI in the title. They do not have AI in the bullet points. We're a little back to some good old privacy talks, and I think that is great.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's also a good segue to share a little bit about our sessions that we are going to participate. So do you want to start with your session and give a little bit of insight?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really excited to moderate a panel on Tuesday at 10 a.m. For non-lawyers in privacy. Privacy is a really cool industry where there's room for all these different types of people. There are some privacy lawyers, there are privacy engineers, there's operational privacy people, and they all have a great role to play. But this session is really kind of focused for those non-attorneys, those non-lawyers in privacy. How do you make an impact coming from that perspective? How do you still really deliver value from that perspective? Because obviously you can. It's a really cool panel, have some really amazing leaders from some brands most people have heard of. And so really excited just to moderate that Tuesday, 10 a.m. I will look for everyone on this call. I'll be disappointed if you're not there. I will.
I'm sure it's going to be amazing. Great. I will be doing a fireside chat, so a little bit different from your panel. It's going to be on the second day, 8:30 a.m. So right with the first coffee of the day. The title is "You Don't Know What You Don't Know," and the main goal is and maybe this is a conversation for you and I for a different time, but what we are hearing lately is companies that are trying to create a vision of a single source of data truth across the organization, which is some sort of a variation of a live data mapping. So what we heard is that different teams are doing the data mapping process as a silo, separate, they don't collaborate, and then each team wastes the same time on the same process, gets to different results. There is no knowledge sharing. So what we are trying to do with the fireside chat, which, by the way, I'm doing that with the Chief Privacy Officer of Ring Central, is to talk about practical ideas to thrive and to push any organization to create that single source of data truth that can essentially power different teams: compliance, privacy, security, IT, anyone across the organization that needs to know what's going on, what systems do we have, and what data do we keep inside. So that's going to be my session.
That
Okay.
sounds great.
Thanks. It's going to be great. You should come as well.
I'll be there.
Okay. Great. This is so. Let's talk about the third bucket of IPP, the exhibitor. Lots of vendors. It's expanding from year to year. It's very hard to navigate the exhibitor. So, any tips, any guidelines, any good plan on how to navigate the exhibitor? Any pre-work that anyone can do in order to learn more, manage that? What do you think?
Yeah, interesting. You can already have access to a lot of the vendors that will be there. You go on IAPP site, read up about PSR. They'll tell you the vendors that you're going to see there. And so you can look through, see if there's names you recognize, see if there's ones you've never heard of before. If you never heard of them before, circle it and be like, I'm gonna find them because I just want to know, hey, I've never heard of you guys before. What do you do? Like, what problem do you solve? If you want to really be efficient when you go in there. Otherwise, go into the exhibit hall with an open mind. And really, if it bothers you, if people want to be like, hey, have you heard about our company? Can we tell you about? If like you're not into that, why are you going in there? Like, what's happening in there. Like, be ready to be talked to about new products and services, and be ready to be polite if you're like, actually, we don't have that problem that you're solving, or we're not in that region that really deals with kind of the solution that you have, whatever it is, and then move on. But there is a reason you're going in there, and it's to hear about new stuff. So be ready for people to talk to you and have questions. That they are there ready to answer some questions for you as well. I would say go in early in the conference to first check it out, because you may have a really detailed question and someone might be like, man, that's a great question. The person that could really answer that, they actually stepped away for a minute, come back in a few hours or something. Don't just try to sneak in the exhibit hall at the end, because you won't talk to everyone. You won't maximize all the stuff that's in there. So you just be ready to kind of put the work in and go be curious and see what's in there.
Do you prepare in advance, like look at the vendor list and then cross-reference that to the questions or the challenges or the issues that you want to solve in your in your role, and then you pick and choose the vendors? Do you go to the exhibit hall, without any plan and just walking around?
Yeah, I think I don't go as deep as really like mapping out, like I'm gonna look at all the vendors, but I know the things that I'm interested in. I know some problems maybe that I could use help solving. And so I'm just gonna go up and down. I'm gonna see what's in there. And as people start to talk to me, I'm going to pay attention. There are some vendors that are in the exhibit hall that have been there for years, but they may have new products as well. And so you may not want to just be like, oh, I see them here every year, like we don't use them. They may have something new. And so it's okay to get in, see what's up, and then move on to the next one. This is not where deals are going to be struck. Everyone gets that. This is a time to have conversations. And so you to be ready for that, and be thinking about what am I looking for? Is there someone here that could be a good partner for me? I think it's helpful.
Got it. And as a visitor for a long time, do you have any tips for vendors on their booth design? Anything that they should do it's too late, but maybe for the next conference, anything that can stand out?
Yeah, I mean, there's one aspect where just a pure marketing, like it's helpful if you just want people to notice, you make your booth stand out somehow, whether that's size, whether that's colors, whether that's theme, that's just pure marketing, and companies figure that out. I don't have a great creative mind for that, but when I see it, I can tell. I'm like, that's different. I'm pulled to that. It's helpful for me to have a sense of what your company does even before I walk up to start talking to you. I think that can be helpful. Maybe that's just in kind of your quick blurb underneath your name on some of your collateral or signage that I'm walking up to. It's nice if I walk up and I already know you guys have, you aim to help solve incident response, versus this company is trying to solve data mapping, versus this company is solving both, or it's a whole suite of private, it's full shot privacy operations. That's nice to just be able to tell before I really start talking to you. And maybe that's not always possible. Again, I'm not on the vendor side trying to sell those type of solutions and market them in that way. But yeah, stand out, in a way that's true to your company culture and to your mission and what you're doing. People respond to that well, I think. And companies that do that, I think, have noticed success, that, yeah, we're definitely getting a lot of people talking to us, because that's the point. Do things that will help facilitate conversation with attendees.
Any good example that you remember, like, oh my God, that was the best booth, or the best design, or the best demo, or the best whatever? Any good example that you remember?
It's tricky, because like the size of a booth definitely draws people in. And when people have like a 2-story, not saying that has to be like stairs, but just something that's tall, something that's big, that's helpful. Now I get it, like that's a monetary thing. Some companies be like, hey, we're not that big. We're going to be doing the small 12-foot by 12-foot box this year. It's our first time. So it's not all about that. But there's levels to that. So if you're saying, hey, I'm not a big one, then the people there, like, you've got to really stand out, ask engaging questions, be ready to talk. Don't just kind of wait for people to approach you. Like, be talking with people, be asking them about their experience. You've got to kind of counter that, because there will be people there that have a bunch of money and they have massive layouts, right? And so you've just got to be engaging, whether visually or personally, to figure out and overcome whatever kind of situation your company may be in from a budget. It's possible. Yeah, there have been some where I just remember them because they were just so cool looking and they were just spread like half the floor. And there's others that were so great because people were so knowledgeable. As soon as they walked up, they're like, what do you do? Oh yeah, we've talked to a lot of people about that. And then our solution does this. Now it still doesn't cover this that you might be thinking of, but we're getting feedback right now on how we could build something. Dude, you mind answering some questions about, people that were engaging? I remember those people as well, and have come back and had further convos with them.
Yeah, I totally agree. You know what? Maybe I have another question related to the exhibit hall. I think that one I get asked a lot. What do you think about data sheets that vendors are handing over? Do you find it helpful? Do you take them with you and analyze them later? Do you think it's a waste of time or paper?
I'll give you my personal perspective, and everyone listening in can take this for what it is, just my personal. I don't know that I've ever read a physical data sheet. If it is foisted upon me, I might reluctantly take it, but then it goes in the bag or it goes somewhere. I would really just tell people like, yes, you can scan my badge. Hey, what you're trying to hand me, will I get that electronically if you scan my badge? Please don't hand that, like, because it is, again, we're trying to facilitate conversations. We're having introductions. Some people might be into that. I mean, they might want the physical medium. I could take it back with them. They can look at it. That is not me. I will avoid it. I will try to beg, please don't hand this to me. If there's no way around it, I'll take it. And then it eventually will be thrown away probably without me reading it. So I don't think it's super effective. But again, your mileage may vary.
So how do you remember vendors that I don't know, you want to keep engaging with them after the conference? Is it just to remember the name, or do you have any other um, way? I don't know.
Yeah, well, if there's a vendor that I want to engage with, that means there's a person there that I also want to engage with. Usually, it's very rare that I can't think of a time where I would say, wow, I did not like any of those people from company X, but I'm still into company X. Let me like reach out. No, it's usually someone that I was talking to that I thought, man, that was really enjoyable conversation. They answered all my questions. They seem to have some cool stuff. I'd like to see a demo later. I'm going to connect with that person, whether they're going to reach out to me from scanning my badge, or they hit me with a business card, or we connect on LinkedIn. I'm just going to continue that relationship and continue to talk to that company. Yeah. So when there's real interest, like when something sparks between an attendee and a vendor, that stuff happens really naturally, I think. And they're going to remember you because of your people, and it's going to be real easy for them to get a hold of you. And let's be honest, you're going to reach out to them after the fact. You scanned them. You're going to reach out to them.
Yeah. Okay, so not the data sheet. What about swag?
Okay, swag. I have big opinions about swag. Probably. Again, other people may disagree. Um, Again, there's pure marketing. If you're going to make something and invest money into something, make it look cool so people would actually want to. Let's talk about clothes. People might have t-shirts or hoodies. Again, the hoodie, I get it's expensive to make. That's what people want. People want the hoodie. Everyone listening, all vendors, we want hoodies. That's what we want. Um, People will wear it if it looks cool. So put some effort into the design, put some effort into your color choices. Maybe not just like a very simple, let your creative juices flow when you're designing some wear for people. Otherwise, there's practical things that people will enjoy. I don't know where I got this letter opener from, what conference, but I know who I got it from. Their name's right here. I see it every day when I use this letter opener. I mean, that's not to be understated, a practical thing. People, and there's fun stuff. Socks, I love socks. People are going to use that. Again, it's pretty practical. Smaller things like the little plastic dancing robot man, no shade at any company that has designed that for PSR this year. I will abstain from picking up the dancing plastic robot man because it does not serve me in any capacity. And I don't think it serves you because it doesn't keep your brand in front of people's eyes in any way, probably. So yeah, don't overthink it. Like, do stuff that people generally are into. If you were at a conference, would you want to pick this up? Would you want to interact with this or use it? Let that guide you, and kind of make it simple for you. Yeah.
Love it. Last question about the exhibit hall. Demos. So how many demos are you seeing on average? And what do you think is the right length to a good demo? Obviously, it can be overwhelming. So
Yeah, you got to give it to me in 2 minutes. High level. I know you can't show me all the features. You can't show me everything. You can't show me all and that's even more difficult when you were talking about a big suite where it's like actually, there's different modules. And so, but 2 minutes is all I have time for in the exhibit hall. More than that, you scan my badge, follow up with me. Let's schedule something. Let's really dive into it later if I'm into it. If I'm like, yeah, I really want to see this more. But 2 minutes just to know what problem are you solving and how is it unique? How is it different from how the person 2 booths down is solving for the same problem? If it is, that's helpful. And that's all I need in those 2 minutes. And that's, really how I can take that back and feel good about, and that I get enough that I want to keep talking to this person. At least let's go to the demo stage next. So a light demo is, because there's so many people, if you grab someone, the worst thing you can do to an attendee is bore them or make them frustrated with you. You might have the perfect solution for something, but if they feel like, man, I'm trapped here, it's been 15 minutes and I can't seem to get away, again, they may come back around and buy later because the product's just so good, but you're going to overcome that first impression where they're just like, oh, that was just so like annoying. It was just like too long. I just kind of wanted to know what it was and then move on to the next thing. So respect that 2 to 3 minutes, and then, be confident enough in your product to say like, I can talk about it for 2 to 3 minutes and I know you're going to want to talk more about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think 2 3 minutes is the right amount. Again, the main reason I agree with you, the main goal is to spark an interest, to make you curious enough to want to talk with the vendor again. Totally agree. That should be the goal. Okay, last topic. What do you do after the conference? How do you analyze everything that you've seen there, the people that you met, the sessions that you listened, the demos or the swag that you took back home? What do you do with all of that?
Yeah, go back to those 3 things that we mentioned, right? Sessions, vendors, networking. And just what resonated with you? What did I learn potentially? And say I'm going back to share that info with the org, or just kind of for myself to follow back up on. What did I learn that was unique? The sessions about approaches, about regulations, about problem solving. The exhibit hall, same kind of question. What did I learn about options that are out there? What companies are solving for which problems, and which seem like maybe a good fit? Because now I'm ready to say, hey, let's schedule that demo. Let's have a further conversation. And then networking, who is good for me to continue to interact with? Not that, and not from like, I'm ready to maybe sell to someone, or I'm ready to like, I'm going to ask them for something now. But just who do I want to develop a continued relationship, professional relationship in this space where we can have knowledge sharing, where we can bounce ideas back and forth. And that could be because they may be junior and there's opportunity for me to kind of give back, be a mentor in this space, or maybe they're a senior or they're parallel to me and I can learn a lot of stuff from them still. Not to say you can't learn from juniors. Don't let me be misunderstood there. But who do I want to keep building relationship with? I learned so much about privacy from people, networking people that I've met, built relationships from. I've learned more from those people than I have just sitting in a session. Nothing against sessions, but it's that real relationship, that professional continuing conversation that continues to have exponential value. So you come back and say, how am I going to continue to foster some of those relationships?
Yeah, and do you feel like you've been able to keep the momentum going after a conference in terms of, for example, vendors that you met and sparked your, curiosity? Do you manage to follow up and create a relationship with them? Do you mainly do it with, people you met in the sessions? Like, how do you divide your action items after a conference?
That's a good question. Yes, I think, but it's you have to be intentional about it. PSR is no different from any other conference. You are not going to go to it and just the things that happen, the things you hear, the vendors that exist and exhibit there, they're not just going to change your life and they're just going to overwhelm you with solutions. Like, I just went and like everything got easier when I came back. You've got to come back and now be intentional. Who am I going to follow up with? Who am I going to pursue further conversations with? How am I going to apply what I heard in that session? How does that translate to where I work? Because I work maybe in a different industry, but there's enough crossover that I think that's going to work. So it's really, you just went there and got a bunch of resources, a bunch of tools, but you have to go do it now. It's not just going to happen for you. And that's the right approach, I think. You're going there so that you can come back and do better work yourself.
Yeah, I agree. Did you find, maybe last question, did you find a good, effective way to communicate all the knowledge and the things that you've seen there to the company that you work for? Like, how can you share the knowledge and everything across the organization?
Yeah, good point. I mean, the easiest way, both to just get it scheduled and maybe to help you distill it, Schedule some time, schedule a meeting, a presentation, maybe not company-wide, but with leadership or just with your team. Maybe you have other team members that didn't go to this one, and schedule time and be like, I'm going to tell you what I saw. I'm going to tell you the sessions I went to. I'm going to tell you some of the vendors that I talked to. Hey, I met this person at this company. They were doing something really cool and something I've never heard of before. And just share that. Just schedule that before, schedule that meeting before you go to PSR, so that it's just sitting in the weeks after. So everything's fresh. You really remember everything. That helps you have to prepare, have to distill it down. Helps you have to, how do I be succinct about those 2 to 3 days I was there and talk about it in half an hour? And then share it with people. You're not going to share everything. It forces you to share the things that were most important to you. And then it's fresh and people will engage with that. Again, maybe not company-wide, maybe company-wide, depending where you work. Maybe that is appropriate. Again, be intentional about that. People aren't just going to ask you for that info. It's not just going to come up naturally. Be intentional to share that info with the other people that benefit from it.
Yeah. To me, by the way, the first time was overwhelming. The amount of sessions, the amount of people, although PSR is a little bit smaller than GPS, I think 1/3, if I remember correctly. But something that really helped me in my first conference, for anyone who is coming for this first or even second time, I just wrote notes, like really 2 sentences or, key highlights that I listened in different sessions, or, key highlights that I heard from different vendors. And then, as you said, I created a short deck, or in my case, I did like a short Google Doc just to circulate it entirely. There are so much knowledge there, and it's hard to, it's easy to forget it after the conference. So I just try to write me, a lot of notes, and then it helped me spark the memory when I sat down to write a summary that I can share internally. So
that's it, man. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We have to wrap up. I'm excited for next week. Last thing that you want to mention? Did you prepare a meme for the conference already or not yet?
We're still working on it. So a little bit of that is kind of just natural inspiration, but I'm in the lab. We're trying to get some memes going for this conference. And anybody that's in the conversation right now, come talk to me. Come talk to Gal. It'd be cool to talk to you. And I would love to hear if you're like, you didn't talk about this in that session, and let's talk about it. Again, networking, most important part. Don't skip out on that. If you're not sure where to start, network with me and network with Gal. There you go.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I can add it now as a vendor. I started IAPP as a visitor, but now as a vendor, we, other than the money that obviously vendors investing, we really want to speak with people. So to spend that 2 minutes that you mentioned, to ask questions, to come prepare with how do you differentiate, what are your key, values. I know that all the vendors are really waiting for these conversations, and spend the time. So this is really important, as much as you can, of course.
That's right.
So great. Thank you very much. Excited to see you. Excited to see everyone next week. It's going to be fun 2 days. And that's it. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Alan. It was really insightful. And see you next week.
Yeah, this was great. Looking forward to it. Looking to see everybody there. Everybody be good.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.